Let's see, are we on? Yep, okay. We'll call this meeting to order. The board does not write the zoning ordinance, but does have authority to grant relief from where practical difficulty or unnecessary hardship would result. The board will vote on each agenda item following a public hearing. Use variance requests require a minimum of 6 affirmative votes in order to grant the requested variances. Non-use variance requests require a minimum of 5 affirmative votes in order to grant the variances. Please note that any order of the board is valid for a period of 1 year. If you would like to request that a board table or adjourn your case due to the absence of a full board, which tonight we're down 2 board members, you must inform the chairperson immediately after the public hearing. Petitioners shall do their best to limit presentations to 10 minutes. Each participant in a public hearing shall do their best to limit comments to 3 minutes. Alrighty, so let's see. As we stated, there's 2 board members missing. And approval of minutes for last month. Is there any comments or corrections for the minutes? All right, seeing none, all those in favor of approving minutes?
Do you need a motion? Get a motion.
Oh, fine. Do we have a motion? Yes. A second?
Yep.
All those in favor of approving the minutes as they are, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. There's no unfinished business for last month, so we'll move on to new business. Case number 23-11-21 for 619 East 12 Mile Road. Whenever you are ready.
Thank you. The subject parcel is a corner lot located at the northwest corner of East 12 Mile Road and Brookwood Avenue. And the parcel measures 48 feet in width, 120 feet in depth, and has a lot area of 5,760 square feet. And as some of you may recall, this property was created as a result of a relatively recent ZBA decision back in June of 2022, which was approved to permit a land division to create the subject lot with its existing width and lot area. The petitioner is proposing to construct a new single-family dwelling with an attached garage, and that attached garage is going to be accessed via Brookwood Avenue. Since the parcels to the north front onto Brookwood Avenue, any new structure built on the subject site needs to maintain a front yard setback not only along East 12 Mile Road but also Brookwood Avenue as well. So if you look at the property to the north, which is 1813 Brookwood, you can see that it maintains a 33-foot front yard setback. So any new house built on this site needs to also maintain a 33-foot setback along Brookwood. This proposed house, however, only maintains a 20.1-foot setback on that side. So the petitioner is requesting a variance to waive 12.9 feet in order to construct a new single-family dwelling. One thing I do want to address is that if you do look at the adjacent house on East 12 Mile Road, it actually has a non-conforming front yard setback of over 50 feet. So since the adjacent house's front yard setback exceeds what the maximum permitted front yard setback is, that means the minimum required front yard setback for the subject site for the new house along East 12 Mile Road is anywhere between 25 and 50 feet. So that means that any setback within that range that they provide would be considered to be in compliance. So with that being said, the front yard setback shown for the new house and covered porch along East 12 Mile Road is in compliance despite the fact that it's located closer to the front property line than the adjacent house to the west. So that's why the only variance that you see listed in your reports is for the setback along Brookwood. Thank you.
All right, is there any questions? Yes, Mr. Clay.
Quick question. So if I do the math right, east to west here, if we take 48 feet, so you got 48 feet minus 5 minus 33, is this really a 10-foot wide building envelope here?
Yes.
9.5 feet?
Yes, and even if the applicant did hypothetically put forward a house that only had a building envelope of that size, they would still need a variance because we require houses to be at least 20 feet in width at all elevations.
So it sounds like no matter what, anything that's presented or submitted for a building permit is going to require a variance, it sounds like.
Yes,
okay.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? Once, twice. And Sukin, is that it?
Oh, no.
Okay, good, just making sure.
It
All right,
really is a scratch.
all right. If the petitioner is here, you may come forward and present.
Thank you for presenting that, Alex. I don't want to take up a lot of your time. I can briefly go through the notes that we have. As a real estate developer, it's hard to find good lots in areas of communities like Royal Oak that you can build on. This particular lot, my son is looking to build his own home, and we had the same situation in another community in Rochester, which was a corner lot that needed the same type variance. And we pulled out the same design home, and it fits perfectly on here. The design, I think, is the highest and best use for this property. It also allows, you can see, there's 20 feet from the side yard setback to allow enough driveway to have cars in the driveway, not just in the garage. So you can park outside of it too, which is 20 feet is the bare minimum you can fit a car in a driveway. It conforms with all the other corner lots. There's 5 lots that we had listed all within blocks of here that are the exact same situation, that have the same setback variance on the corner, anywhere from 28 to 38 feet, which is similar to this. All the homes facing 12 mile, within a half mile of here are the same situation. As you said, the building width of a house would only be 9.5 feet, which would be not even a single wide trailer home could fit on that lot. Lot's only 48 feet wide. Yeah, what other notes did I have? Yeah, there's 6 homes along 12 Mile that are the same situation that have been granted variances in the past. The design of the home has a, I don't know if you can see the elevation, top left there of the home, next page maybe. That will face 12 Brookwood. So we made sure the design was good. We're going to add some stone to the belt around the sides. So it's almost another front that faces not just on 12 Mile, but along Brookwood. So it'll be pleasantly, it'll look good there. That's all I got. Any questions?
Do we have any questions for Ms. Sukin?
You mentioned that there's 5 other lots that got the same variance. Weren't those houses built a long time ago? And
I don't know when they were built. We got the aerials of them, and we went all along 12 Mile to see what their side yards were, and they were very similar. I don't know if they got variances or if they're grandfathered in. I'm not sure of the situation. A lot of them are older homes.
And did you also notice that on all those 5 corners, there's no garage facing the front of a house? They're all facing sides of the house where the garages face them also? So,
Our garage faces the same, that street too, the same as all the houses on Brookwood.
The side of, the north side, the east side of your house faces a home that is facing the garage, whereas the other corners all have garages facing garages. Were you aware of that?
I don't know what you're saying. I'm not following.
It's just they're not the same is what I'm saying.
That's why we got two front faces, one along Brookwood where the garage is, and the one facing 12 Mile. The garages along Brookwood all face Brookwood, as ours does.
Okay, I'll disagree with you on that one. Also, when the owner of this property was here last year, he said that he was going to build a house that faced Brookwood. Is that out of the question? As opposed to facing 12 Mile?
The design of the home, it has 2 faces. It has one on 12 Mile and the one on Brookwood.
Okay.
Mr. Reddy?
The questions that were answered in the supporting documentation, were those answers given by your son?
Yes.
Okay. I guess that was the only question. The comment I would have is, I think when we approved the lot split, we were expecting that we might have to grant multiple variances for a house to be built here. And to me, I would say, I appreciate that you're requesting one. That seems quite reasonable. And at the previous one, when we did the split, the neighbor to the north mentioned that she was worried about the house being too close to her house because of the bedroom. And I think the way you've requested it here, there's plenty of space in between. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Mr. Getman?
I was just wondering if you chatted with any neighbors, got any input from...
He did. He chatted with all the neighbors. He even has a signed signature from some of the neighbors. He did a survey, explained to them what he was doing, and I had him sign a petition that they were aware of the change and that they supported it.
Okay.
So he did speak to the 5 surrounding contiguous neighbors.
Yes, Mr. Reddy.
Do you have that with you? I don't think that was included.
You know what? I don't know if I have all of them. I'm looking at the one I do have.
You can pass that around if you want. Any other questions for the petitioner?
Just to,
Yes, Ms.
just
Dickey.
to shortcut this a little, included on the neighbors that your son talked to and they approved it, was it the one to the north and the one to the east directly?
He talked to all the neighbors along both sides and across the street.
Okay.
There was 5 homes that he had got petitions from.
Any other questions?
I don't think this is, I think this is a different property. We're in Royal Oak.
Disregard that one.
Okay.
That's for another one that we had done in Sterling Heights. Just so
Okay.
happened to be copied on the same sheet.
Oh, but this is also,
Oh, jeez, this is not good. I'm sorry.
that's right.
It's okay.
I don't have them.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions? All right, just to let you know, before we open a public hearing, sir, we are down 2 board members. You need 5 affirmative votes in order to grant the variance. So while we do public comment, decide whether or not you want us to go forward or if you would like us to adjourn this till the next meeting, okay?
I would like a vote.
Okay. Well, I'll still ask you after public comment, just in case you
Okay.
change your mind. All right, we'll open up public comment on this case. If anyone would like to speak on it, please come forward. Going once, going twice. All right. Would you like us still to proceed, sir?
Yes, I would.
Okay, we'll bring it to this side of the table, discussion and/or motions. Mr. Reddy?
Oh, did we want to notify the petitioner that they won't be able to come back for a year?
That's in the
Okay.
opening. Preamble. Comments, discussion? Mr. Reddy?
Yeah, I guess I can just start off the discussion kind of along the lines with what I said to the petitioner. I mean, when we approved this, we knew we were going to get a variance. And looking at this seems like if you're going to build a house here, you're going to need this. This seems pretty minimal to me, and it does seem to match other houses on 12 Mile on the streets to the west. So, you know, it seems reasonable to me.
Mr. Gavin?
I'll move to approve the variance as requested.
Is there a second? Mr. Klatt? Okay, go ahead, Mr. Gavin.
Just going through our factors, the zoning restrictions would prevent the owner from using the property for a permanent purpose. As Mr. Klatt, indicated, pretty much any house on that property would need a variance whatsoever. So with that, the variance would do substantial justice to the applicant as well as to other property owners in the district. And a lesser relaxation than that requested would not give substantial relief to the owner of the property or be consistent with justice to other property owners. With respect to that one, it's a very minimal request. The house, you can't really make a house much narrower than that and have it look good and consistent with the community. So I believe that factor is met because they're putting it basically as narrow as you can really reasonably put it. The plight of the landowner is due to unique circumstances of the property. This is a problem with corner lots. This is essentially my lot. so I know exactly what you're up against. And then the alleged hardship was not created by any person presently having an interest in the property, and that is true. I do further want to note, I saw the two comments in writing in the packet, and while I understand their concerns, I think that that's going to be a problem no matter what type of house is built on here. So I think this is a reasonable request for this property, and I think it should be approved.
Mr. Clatt?
I think Mr. Gavitt and Mr. Reddy summarized that quite well. Unless you want this to remain a vacant lot, some variance is required here to do that. So that's why I'm in support.
Anyone else? Going once, twice. I too shall be in favor of this motion because, as stated, with the lot split, there's not really you can do other than go for a variance, since city has a requirement of 20 feet at least. So no matter what, even if we made them go down to 20 feet, that would only be 2-3 feet off of what they already have now. So it's not going to make much of a difference on that lot. So because of all the practical difficulties, I have no problem. Seeing that, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raise your hands. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Motion carries. Congratulations, sir. Best luck to you. All right. Case number 23-11-22 for 821 Stanley Court, whenever you are ready.
Thank you. The subject property is located at the end of Stanley Court, which is located just north of East 11 Mile Road. And the property contains over 12,000 square feet of area, and it currently contains a 2-story single-family house with an attached garage. And the petitioner is proposing a few different components with this project. The first one is that they're proposing to construct a 2-story, 268 square foot covered deck in the rear yard, which is going to be attached to the back of the existing house. And the second level is going to contain an open, unenclosed deck area, which is going to be accessible only from the second level of the house itself. The petitioner has also applied for permits through the city's building division in order to construct an in-ground swimming pool, as well as the associated ground level unenclosed and unroofed decks surrounding it. And the petitioner is also proposing to construct a separate 1,655 square foot open covered entertainment pool house in the rear yard. Now, per the zoning ordinance, the ground floor area of all accessory buildings cannot exceed 10% of total lot area, nor exceed 800 square feet. And as I had noted, the house does already contain an existing attached garage, which is 789.9 square feet. So the addition of the detached pool house is going to result in a total accessory lot coverage of 19.8% and 2,444.8 square feet of accessory floor area. So the petitioner is seeking a variance to waive 1,644.8 square feet of the maximum allowable ground floor area of 800 square feet, and to waive 9.8% of the maximum allowable lot coverage of 10% in order to construct the open covered outdoor entertainment pool house. If you would look at page 22 of your packets, that contains the floor plans for the pool house, and it shows a separate room for a toilet and a hand sink, a pool equipment storage room, an outdoor kitchen, and a natural gas powered fireplace. So this obviously indicates that the pool house is going to be served not only by electricity, but also natural gas, water, and sewer. And the zoning ordinance does prohibit a combination of utilities which allow accessory buildings to be readily converted into a habitable space. So the petitioner is also requesting a variance to waive the prohibition of a combination of utilities in an accessory building. And last, of course, based on the lot's total size of 12,300 square feet, the maximum total lot coverage permitted is 30%. The site in its current configuration with the house and the existing attached garage maintain a 20.9% lot coverage. However, the proposal, which takes into account the pool house and the attached 2-story covered deck, is going to result in a total lot coverage of 36.6%. So the petitioner is seeking an additional variance to waive 6.6% of the maximum allowable total lot coverage of 30%. Thank you.
Questions? First, Ms. Zukin and then Mr. Klett.
I know we've done several of these, but I still need some clarification. When we talk about a combination of utilities, is there a number or is it a type?
So the zoning ordinance doesn't specifically give a threshold. It specifically says that it's a combination of utilities as determined by the zoning official. So typically when staff analyzes these things in the past, let's take a garage for example. All garages are going to be serviced by electricity for the garage door opener and then for interior lights. And there are some situations where someone will propose to put like maybe a small like gas powered heater and there maybe to do some work on their cars or do a hobby in the winter time. If that's the case, staff generally doesn't have an issue with that. But typically when it goes beyond that, that's when staff starts to raise, flags and say, anything beyond that, you're going to need a variance. Now, in this case, generally when people are proposing, water and sewer, that always, typically raises flags as well, because at that point you start to question, well, are you going beyond, what is the nature of an accessory building? Because at that point, it seems like it's more likely that it can be easily converted into a habitable space.
Okay,
There's no walls though, so does...
There could be.
Well, were you asking a follow-up on that?
I was.
Sure.
Does that mean that in any situation we'd never be able to have an outdoor kitchen in an accessory building, or any accessory building having a kitchen in it? Because there's water,
Yes.
electricity?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And to answer your question about there not being walls, there are situations where there are accessory structures that don't have walls. For example, there are people that construct, carports in the city. Carports don't necessarily have walls, but they're still a roofed structure. So therefore, staff always applies the accessory structure section of the zoning ordinance to those types of structures as well.
So it's not just if a structure could be like a livable space, like it has walls, like it's not here where there's no walls, but so you couldn't live there.
Sure, you couldn't live there.
But
You could. Yeah.
Mr. Klett and then Mr. Robinson.
No, I just had a question related to variance 4. You mentioned the lot coverage, but I had a hard time determining. I didn't see square footages for the home, the other areas. There's square footage indicated for the new buildings, but I didn't really see anything. I didn't see the breakout of how you came up with that number. There's also, I saw in Mr. Collins' letter too, that there was maybe a discrepancy with how some of the math was calculated for overhangs. Maybe the applicant can discuss that too.
Yeah, and I would defer that to the applicant, and we can have that discussion at that time.
Mr. Robinson.
And if this building was not showing here, like it's at the very end of the line, if it was connected to the house, then it would no longer be an accessory building, is that correct?
Potentially, yes, but I don't see the practicality in this case, how someone could, construct like a breezeway or an addition to connect the two, given the fact that there's
Well,
the pool.
yeah, but I mean, if it was totally attached to the house, then it's not, that would not be an issue. Am I correct?
Well, if it was attached to the house in its own current nature, we would still include that in total lot coverage because it'd be
Right,
covered.
yeah, but
in
it
the
would
roof.
not be an accessory building. I guess that would, the utilities wouldn't be the problem.
Sure.
Okay.
You probably have footprint for the problem.
So I guess just based on this, if that garage is 790 some odd feet, I mean, in reality, they can't even really, they wanted to build a shed, a simple shed in the backyard. They really couldn't even do that. Is that right?
I have a question
Okay.
for you. So hypothetically, whether we pass this or not, if it passes, how hard would it be for them to come back and later convert, say, the deck into a habitable space? would they need to come back before us for another variance, or would it be?
Well, the city has different mechanisms in place which would, I guess, prevent, anyone in the future from trying to do any additional work, let's say put in walls and actually try to convert it into a, detached accessory building, or a detached dwelling rather. For example, if someone wanted to pull permits and say just to convert what's being proposed into an actual dwelling, then of course we would deny that permit and tell them to apply for the Zoning Board of Appeals. And on the flip side, if someone tried to do that without pulling permits, well then of course code enforcement would get involved and, put a stop to that. Yep.
Ms. Zuki?
Okay, a follow-up to Mr. Ofak's question.
Yes.
If they put up walls, why would they need to get a variance? Or why would they need anything? Because we're granting the use of the lot that way. And if they just change it, could we put something in here that says they can't put walls up, or is that not even necessary?
I don't believe that's necessary for the reasons that I explained to Mr. Ofak.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, going once, twice. All right, seeing none, the petitioner may come forward and present their case.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the zoning board. Dennis Cowan with Plunket Cooney on behalf of the applicants, Brian and
Real
Michelle.
quick, I think the mic might not be.
Oh,
Is
is it
there a
on now?
button to, because it's not lit up, so,
It's green.
okay.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you
Okay.
loud and clear.
Just making
All right.
sure it's
All right.
sounding soft.
So I am here with the applicants, Brian and Michelle Malaysia, who live and are the owners at 821 Stanley Court, and also Jake Lubig, who's with Design Ventures, is here. They're responsible for drawing up the plans. Mr. Chairman, if I could, I have a diagram that in part explains what Mr. Klatt referenced.
Okay.
Could I pass it out and have, because I'm going to refer to it. Thank you. Okay. So let me give you a little background of how we got here. So in June of 2021, Michelle was walking her dog, Bella, on 11 Mile, and at Gainsborough, she was hit by a car. Fortunately, she's doing well after about a year of rehab, and the dog survived too, the family dog, so everybody's happy about that. But that gave both of them pause for thought. After losing a year with their children because of all this rehab, they decided they wanted to do something special to be able to enjoy more time with their kids, especially after Michelle recovered from her health challenges. And along with the pool was also the idea to have what some people have referred to in the old days. It was called a cabana or a pavilion. I call it the family recreational space, is how I identify it. And as it has been referenced, it is an open air, unenclosed structure. It's in part to take full advantage of the pool. And quite frankly, I think as has been referenced, each one of these components separately could be done in your backyard, or in this backyard. But we are putting them all in one spot and covering them with a roof. That's the simple request that we have. I do want to point out that they have tried and worked to try and minimize the requests. First, they tried to purchase some property behind them. If you're familiar with this area, it's a very eclectic collection of lots. Like almost nothing's the same size. Alexander, which backs up to them, is 40-foot wide lots. Potter Street, which is the other side street, the reason they were able to approach the owner is they have a 55-foot wide lot and a 297-foot depth. So they were hoping to pick up 3,000 square feet so they could create additional space to come within some of the rules. But that was not successful. So they did make that effort with their neighbor to see if they could buy some additional property. The other difficulty that they faced is the fact that they did not build this house. They purchased it after it was constructed. And as has been referenced, there's already a garage within this principal structure. So there's really no way for them to change that and to create some additional accessory space. I guess the one alternative would be to turn that whole garage area into living space, and then they pick up 800 feet for accessory structure. But that doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. Finally, they also looked at, was there an alternative for the bathroom? Because the only bathroom they have on the first floor of the house is in the front of the house, which means if they have guests over, the guests and their children all have to go from the back of the house all the way to the front of the house to use a bathroom, and of course, you're dripping wet. So anybody who's ever had a pool knows that situation. So that really, there was no alternative to put a bathroom in the back of the house because of the way the plumbing's laid out, or to put it into the garage. So we did try to reach some alternative means to lessen the extent of the variances. Also, I think has already been referenced, the unfortunate fact is, based on the interpretation of the code, and we can get into the specifics of that if we need to, we're not able to build any type of additional structure on the property. I mean, we have maybe 11 square feet is what we have left. And really, we think that's unfair. And we believe that we should be able, and the Balasias should be able to build in their backyard. And quite frankly, also don't believe that the garage should be accounted against the cap, as I stated in my letter, because it's part of the principal building. You can't have an accessory structure within a principal building. It's either a principal building or it's not, and that's what that is. It's the principal building. So the other point we wanted to make is that we did have some overcounting, and apologize for that, but when our architect put together the proposal, overstated the actual size of the family entertainment, or the family recreational space. It is not the 1,600, I think, in 55. It's 1,233, and that's what I gave you. And if you look at I think the pink and the yellow, the outline is in yellow, and that's the overhang. The actual concrete pad will be 433 feet less than the overhang. So that's just a typical, obviously when you do a roof line, you want the rain to run off of the structure, not right on the edge. So that is an overcount, and so as you see, we get to a little bit over 32% of actual lot coverage, and not the 36 if you take out that 433 feet. And actually, I'm sorry, I think its reference is 413 feet. There's a lot of numbers here. I'm not really good at numbers. I'm glad we have the check. I couldn't balance my checkbook in the old days, when you had to actually do it by hand. So, but we're in the ballpark. So, I think the other point that we would like to make that we believe is very important is that this is being done for recreational purposes. It's not being done for storage purposes. We're not bringing in 4 or 5 cars in some oversized pole barn or something of that nature. It's being done strictly for recreational space, and that's why it's kept open. And there is no intent in any way, shape, or form to ever occupy this. They already have a beautiful home. I understand the code, and I understand the concern, and no one objects to the planning division of bringing this issue up. It's the right thing to do. However, you have to look at all the facts, and in this instance, they already have a beautiful home. They don't need an additional site to enclose, and I think as Mr. Bohorsky's pointed out, that would be very difficult to do. And plus, you have neighbors, and neighbors, watch your backyard and what you're doing, and as a result, it's not practical that they would ever need that additional space because of they have a significant and beautiful home already. And we would be more than willing to put a condition in that we wouldn't rent the property to be used by third parties such as Airbnb, or if you've ever heard of Swimfleet, which is they rent your pool out for you. So we have no intention, there's no economic or revenue advantage that is trying to be brought up here or incorporated. It's just simply to enjoy the recreational space that is going to be built. And we think that's consistent with the city's recreation master plan. I put the preamble in, and they do want to have an opportunity to have recreational facility on site. We don't have a community pool, so if you want to swim, you have to build your own pool or go to somebody else's pool. And we believe that's a good and credible goal, and that's consistent with what the city wants to have. And as you know, we've now got all kinds of bike paths and all kinds of recreational opportunities, but this will be in their backyard. So it'll kind of be a little bit of what you call a staycation place. Some people go camping, some people travel. The Ball Asias are going to be in their home with a pool and hopefully with some type of amenity space in this family recreational space that they are proposing. The other positive thing that's come from this is they've went and talked to their neighbors about it, and I did attach a petition which is signed, and by the way, we do have the final signature, 806? Yes. 809. I'm sorry, 809. So all the neighbors, Stanley Court is 8 houses or 7? 7. Yeah. 7 total. 7 total houses, including theirs. So all their neighbors support the proposal, and they sat down with each one of them, showed them the plans, and they understand what they are trying to accomplish. So that is our proposal. That is the opening discussion that we have, and if there's any questions now or after the public hearing, we'll be glad to answer them.
Okay. Questions for the petitioner? Mr. Reddy.
I'm sorry, I'm going to have a few on this one. I guess the first off is, what is the rationale for not including the overhang on the, like reducing it from 16, the 400 square feet is the overhang, right?
Right.
So if your argument is that what should only count is what's on the ground, there's plenty of other paved surface that would be considered covered. I mean, if you look at the plan, which is beautiful, by the way, but it is covering a lot of the lot, which we're not counting because presumably there's no roof there. So to then say that we're going to discount the roof area that's overhang seems disingenuous, right?
Well, no, we're not trying to be disingenuous at all. I'll make this comparison. When the city, like for instance in the BSNA that I attached for the house, floor area or structure area is the structure area down to the concrete foundation. It's not the overhang of the roof, which we all have in all of our houses.
Correct.
That's not included as square footage. So that's why when the architect included that erroneously and realized it as we were going through preparing to come here, realized that he'd included that overhang. And that's not included when you, in essence, establish the ground floor or the ground square footage for your house. So we wanted to be consistent.
Okay. Even if we consider it to be 1,200, that still would be above 800 square feet even if you don't consider the garage at all. You know?
Right.
So even that would have been requiring a variance on its own, right?
That's correct.
I mean, roughly 1.5 times what's allowed.
Right.
So I guess I'm going to have some difficulty concluding that this is the least relief that we can provide. Can you maybe help me with that? Because when I look at this is beautiful, but it's hard looking at this to conclude that this is the least relief possible for the hardship, which is, I guess, the hardship of not being able to have a pool. Is that?
Well, no, we can have a pool. And the pool isn't included in this, I mean, for purposes of the variance.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. But, no, when they had the architect, they said, these are the components we would like, how do they fit in? And that's the size of what it takes to accomplish some of those activities. So that's really how they came to the size, was after they established what components that were
Okay,
needed.
but you're saying this is the smallest possible thing that would provide the enjoyment of their yard.
I would say that this is what they're proposing.
Okay.
Could it be lesser? Possible, yes. I don't want to, I'll
Sure.
let them make that decision.
Okay, and then the last, and I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be
No,
difficult here.
no, no,
But
please.
I'm worried about the uniqueness standard, because these are percentages, and this lot is not, oddly shaped. So these percentages would apply, generally. And oftentimes, this is a bigger lot, so oftentimes we'll say, oh, it isn't going above the percentage, but these are still going above the percentages.
Right.
So how would we conclude that there's a unique aspect to this?
Well, I think, first of all, the fact that, as I pointed out, and there's kind of a discrimination against larger lots, because we have an 800 square foot limitation, and there's really no explanation for that. And I would ask someone to please explain that to me, of why you can have a large lot. So if you have 12,000 square feet, and it was, let's say it was 10%, it would be 1,200, which is about where we're at. So that, it's just proportionality, we thought that was a good place to land in terms of the request. So that's where, and really it's more of an issue of the size of the lot and the application of the variance of why this is a unique situation, in my view, and why we have to be here. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Other questions? I think I saw Ms. Dukin, yes.
You mentioned that you can't put a bathroom in the back of the house, but you're putting one all the way in the back of the yard. Why can't you attach it to the house? Or build it out of the house?
I'm trying to explain your house, I guess. Well, the house is raised up a little bit. It's not like at grade level.
If the homeowner would like to come forward to
Yeah,
explain.
why don't you come forward and explain that? Yeah. Good idea. Thank you.
Yes, I'm Brian. Thank you for the time. The house is about, I think it's almost 3.5, almost 4 feet raised above grade. And so we looked at doing that out of the back of the house, and it required us to do basically all of the exact same work. But it ended up looking really weird, because then you had a structure on the floor while the rest of the house was up above the grade, and we still had to cut into the foundation. We had to do basically all of the work we have to do to move that to the back, so that we had the pool, or the bathroom closer to where the pool is and where people would be accessing the pool. To us, it ended up being a very, very strange space, and then you'd have to have a weird roof line that just made the whole back of the house look very strange, because the roof is some 20, I think it's like 23 feet above grade. And so now you'd have like a weird shed coming off of the back of the house, and everything got really goofy. And then the other concern that we had was, we have aging parents. So my dad passed last year, but my mom's still alive, and my wife's parents are alive. And so our goal here was, again, as we mentioned, to spend time with family. And so we were looking for what was the easiest path to building a bathroom that was accessible without having additional steps. And so we had considered putting a walkout basement in, but our house right now, you have to go upstairs to get to the first floor, up significant number of stairs to get to the first floor, and walkout basement, you have to go down. And so we just looked at what would be the place we could put a bathroom without it being weird, that there weren't stairs up or down, so that it aligned with the grade and the kind of the layout of the house itself. That makes sense. We could send pictures of what the back of the house looks like. It's a weird gap.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Klett, I think I saw your hand.
Oh, just a quick comment, and to kind of follow up on Mr. Reddy's point, the number of variances, and in many situations, I think in a lot of situations, our board has granted variances for accessory structures in excess of 800 square feet, larger garage on big lots, right? That's been approved in many circumstances, but we've often tried to hold to that 30% mark as kind of the governing rule. Have you explored any ideas or options to maybe get that square footage down a bit for the new addition, to maybe get within 30%? as a way maybe to cut one of the variances to make it more, back to Mr. Reddy's comment?
Yeah, so this was actually I think this morning when we got an email back, it was the first time we had seen the 30% ever. We'd seen the 10% before. And when we looked and saw it was like, 32.4%, I think that would be something we could go back and look at. Our architect's actually traveling this week. And so, again, that was the first time Michelle and I had seen that was this morning. And so certainly, we're not going to grandstand for 2.5% if that would be allowable.
The down and dirty math looks like it's maybe 233 square feet. If you shave that, if it's 1,000 square feet versus 1,232.
Well, it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
No. No, we would certainly take a look at that. Again, our architect is out of town this week, and his associate joined us.
All right, other questions? Yes, Mr. Gavin.
Less a question than more a comment, because I don't know, it's just one of those things where like in the past when there's been concerns about numbers, or if you like you said, you saw this morning that you saw the 30% being exceeded was for the first time this morning, I guess when we've encountered situations like that in the past, it has often been helpful to delay it a month so that you can talk to your architect. And I'm just giving you that comment now so that you can consider it, since you're going to be hearing from the chair in a second that we don't have a full board, and that if you want to delay it a month, you can. So I just want to, because I have a lot of the same reservations, and I would like to see accurate numbers. Like I see your numbers here and they make sense to me, but I haven't, the numbers we have in the staff report or something else, and it would be nice to see those reconciled and to get staff's opinion on these numbers as revised. So I just wanted to throw that comment out there.
Yeah. No, thank you very much.
Any other questions for the petitioner? All right, seeing none, we're going to, before we go to public hearing, as stated, we only have 7 board members. You need at least 5 affirmative votes.
Yes.
So if you want to counsel and decide whether or not you want to adjourn for 1 month, even with figuring out the numbers, you can let us know after public comment.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. Is there anyone to speak on this case? You may come forward at this time. Going once. Going twice. All right. No one. So the question would be whether or not you would want us to proceed or to delay for a month.
Well, first of all, none of the neighbors came because they all signed a letter of support, so that's good. No, we would seek to defer. However, if I could impose on the board, I did hear a couple comments such as Mr. Gavin and Mr. Reddy. If we could get any other feedback, and in part, when we discovered this error, I fully appreciate that you'd want to have staff look at it. There's no question about that. But if there's any other feedback you have for us in looking at this, that would be helpful for us.
The only thing I would say is maybe bring an image of what that, if there was, of that early bathroom attached to show how wonky it looked, so that you could
we can do that.
Because this way it allows people who can't visualize it to be able to visualize it and understand why. I know personally I have the concern, nothing against the compliance or anything like that, and I'll have to reconcile when it comes time to it, but what the future owner of this place might do with turning something into it. But that's my own thought process. But
yeah.
Mr. Klein.
I'll say combination of utilities might be a good one to discuss too amongst the board. It sounds like there's, I don't want to say a gray area, but maybe it's open to staff to interpret how many is too much. Like in this case, it sounds like we have, there's a toilet and a sink, that's water. It's not like there's gas for a fireplace possibly? Is that the other one?
Yes, natural gas fireplace,
And the sewer for the toilet as well. So are we open to a wood-burning fireplace versus gas to eliminate one of those utilities, or electric, versus gas? Just an idea. It'd be good to give them some feedback too for asking them to come back to modify plans.
Yeah. Okay. And again, we're willing to have any conditions put on. What you're allowed to do, you can put reasonable conditions on an approval. So.
Any other comments for the petitioner? All right. Well, thank you very
Well,
much.
thank you for your time, and thank you for your feedback, and we'll be back next month and hopefully have a revised plan and bring it back to you. And we'll work with the planning department, Mr. Bahorsky, to get it to them in time to give you an adequate report. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So in which case, that leaves us with case number...
I don't think we voted to postpone.
Oh, yeah, very good. Yeah. Is there a motion to adjourn this to next month? Mr. Reddy?
Yeah, I move we
Okay, second?
postpone.
Mr. Kevin? All right.
It was offered and requested, so I think we should grant it.
Yep. All right. Anything to add? No. Okay. Any other discussion? All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, so now we'll move on to case number 23-11-23 for 2802 North Connecticut Avenue. Whenever you're ready. Sure. 1 second.
Thank you. The subject site's located on the east side of North Connecticut Avenue within the one-family residential zoning district. And the property is, 45 feet in width, 155 feet in depth, and contains a lot area of just under 7,000 square feet. And the petitioner is proposing to construct a second-story dormer addition onto the rear of the existing dwelling in order to create new second-level living space. The proposed second-level dormer addition is going to be retaining the same footprint of the existing single-family dwelling, so there's not going to be any overall expansion of the house's footprint. However, since this property is 45 feet in width and it does not have a attached accessory structure in the side yard, the property is subject to maintaining the combined side yard setback provision of the zoning ordinance, which needs to be at least 15 feet in size. However, the unfortunate situation is that the existing dwelling maintains a non-conforming 13-foot combined side yard setback, and the proposed dormer addition is going to maintain that same existing setbacks for the house, so it's not going to be bringing it into compliance. So the petitioner first needs to obtain a variance to first alter/expand a non-conforming structure in a non-conforming manner, and then a second variance to waive 2 feet from the minimum required 15-foot combined side yard setback. Thank you.
All right. Any questions for staff? Mr. Reddy?
This is just a quick one, I think. But there wouldn't be a way to alter the existing structure without, I mean, moving, like significantly moving the footprint of it, correct?
Unless they wanted to create the portion of the dormer addition, like tuck it in, that would potentially be the only way, albeit that may look a little bit strange because you would have the alterations of the roof line, but that's really the only way that, they could potentially do that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, seeing none. Oh, sorry, Mr. Kevin?
No, I was
I
shaking
thought
my
that-
head no.
Okay. The petitioner may come forward, present your name and your case.
Good evening. My name is David Gardner of Gardner Builders. We are the company responsible for doing the modification on the home, the renovation. We've had a similar issue in Royal Oak in the past where it was because of homes that were existing and then they needed to meet the certain code that was updated, and they didn't meet it, so we needed to get your approval to be able to just build straight on up. We're not going out in any way, shape, or form. We're just trying to give more square footage on top of the home for the residents who live there now, because everybody who we've worked with who lives in Royal Oak wants to continue to do that, especially when their families expand. So we're not asking for anything that we believe is out of the ordinary. It's just going straight on up. To your point, sir, we can't modify the home 2 feet for the 15-foot side yard setback requirement without substantial modification and an awkward-looking dormer if we were to sit that in 2 feet on the side. So similar homes in the neighborhood also have that dormer, so it's not any different from any of the other homes that are in the neighborhood, and that's our basic request that we're asking for.
Ms. Sukin?
Am I correct that the front elevation's not being changed at all?
The roof line will be very similar. It's almost exactly what it is now. There's a slight modification to it just because we're giving a little bit more height on the interior, but it's going to be reflected mainly on the back side of the dormer. There won't be a lot of change on the front side of the house. So the appearance of the home on the front yard is going to be almost identical to what it is now.
Okay. Any other questions for the petitioner? All right. As a reminder, there's only 7 board members here. I'll ask after public comment if you'd like us to proceed with yours or to delay it for a month.
Okay. Yep, not a problem.
Okay. All right, we'll open up public comment. Is there anyone to speak on behalf of this case? Going once? Going twice? All right, 3 times. So would you like us to proceed or would you like us to delay a month?
We'd like to proceed.
Okay, so we'll bring it back to the side of the table. Discussion and or motions. Oh, I think I saw Mr. Gavin beat up Mr.
Too fast, quick draw.
Sorry.
Arm wrestle for it.
I move to approve the variances as requested.
Is there a second? Oh. Ms. Robinson got in for the second. Go ahead, Mr. Gavin.
As the petitioner noted, this is one that we commonly see. It's a simple addition. They're keeping it in line with the building as it exists right now. It would just look weird to step in 2 feet and add a lot more expense, unnecessary expense for the homeowner. So, with that, it is the expansion of that home. It's a permitted purpose, and the zoning ordinance. It's designed to. I understand the reason for having to get approvals for non-conforming expansions, but this one is so straightforward that I see no reason not to. It does substantial justice to the applicant as well as to the other property owners, and a lesser relaxation would not give substantial relief. I think that is certainly met. The plight of the landowner is due to the unique circumstances of the property. It's just a condition with older homes that predate the current zoning ordinances. So, it wasn't something that they built. And then the alleged hardship was not created by any person presently having an interest in the property, which I have to imagine is true. So, I am in favor of this. It's pretty simple and straightforward.
Ms. Robinson, do you
Just very simple and straightforward. I agree with everything. Laid it out quite nicely.
any other comments? Yes, Mr. Clark.
I'm in favor, but I have to say it anyways. I argue that the dormers look better when they step in. Typically, I'm not saying 2 feet on one side, but it allows that original roof line to run through. You don't have 2 dissimilar materials abutting, so that's my only argument. But I understand we don't want to lose that square footage on the floor area, so I'm in approval. Nice job.
That's an architect.
I just had to say it. Sorry.
I was going to say, I'm surprised they didn't go with the front or anything. Any other comments? All right, I too will be in favor of this as previously stated with everything else. Practical difficulty is it was already there and they can't help it. So, seeing no other comments, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries. Congratulations. Best luck to you. All right, that brings us to other business, which I don't see any unless you have something.
The only thing I would state is that the city's new survey for the master plan has gone live, so if anyone is interested in participating in that, the link to the survey can be found on this, the master plan's website, which is planroyaloak.com. That's all one word. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that gives us a general public comment. Is there anyone here to speak? Nope, the crickets are saying nothing. All right. No public comments. Is there anyone for the mystery motion? Going once. Mr. Reddy.
I move that we adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, Mr. Gavin. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, we're done.
Wow,
Good.
good.
Good.